Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa and this is Make Your Own Chains Part 2. Part 1 of Make Your Own Chains, I'll link above. That's where I go over my 3 most go-to chain styles. Today I'm going over 3 different styles that I use particularly for bracelets, either as is or I'll attach some danglies or some charms from them. So just keep watching and I'll show you how they're made. So I use 3 different types of wires here. A horseshoe link bracelet made out of non-tarnish brass. The second one here is sterling silver wire, and it's just jump rings and figure 8 links. And this last one I'll go over bare copper wire, and it is made out of split rings. So the first chain I'm gonna make is the horseshoe link chain. For that I'm gonna use 20 gauge non-tarnish brass wire. The tools you need are your basic tools: flush cutters, round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, and flat nose pliers are helpful too. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna measure out all my links. I'm gonna make them 1.5 inches long. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure them out first. And I think I'll need about 18 of them. If I need more, I can make more later. My handy dandy ruler. And then I use the one I cut off as a guide. Of course, the flush cutters make an angled end on one side, so each time I cut a link, I cut the angle flush. I measure it up, and then I cut that one flush. And then I go back and cut the end flush, size it up, and cut that piece flush. And I keep doing that until I have the amount that I need. Okay, so when all your links are all done, go back and make sure they're all exactly the same length. Next step is to make the little loops on the ends of your links. And to do that, you need a pair of round nose pliers. And I usually stay down towards the end and keep my loops on the smaller side. So make a loop on one end, flip it around, make a loop on the other end the same size, and keep them facing the same direction. Just like that. And now you just need to do that 17 more times. Make sure to keep your little loops on the smaller side so you have plenty of wire to wrap around your dowel or mandrel to make the horseshoe shape. The next step after making your loops is to make your horseshoe out of the link. So what I use is a dowel. This is a 5/16 dowel. When I measure it, it's 8 millimeters diameter. When I wrap the link around the dowel, my loops are, put them flat up against the dowel like that. Not like this or like this, flat like that. Start to wrap them around evenly. Sometimes I use my flat nose pliers or chain nose pliers to kind of squeeze them together, make a nice round shape. Just go through and do it with all of them. Try to make sure they're nice and rounded, evenly across the top. Put nice steady pressure against each side. Now that that's finished, we get to hook them all together. One needs to be on the end. So the next one, just like jump rings, you need to bring your little loops out to the side. Just like that. And then hook another link into it. Make sure they're facing the same way. And then close your loops. Make sure they're closed tight and your wire's not overlapping at all. Just like that. Alright, here's what the chain looks like. I did end up adding 3 more links to this chain for a total of 21 to make this a size 7-inch bracelet. So when I add the clasp, it'll make it about a 7.5. So let me show you real quick how to make the clasp. The clasp you use on this bracelet is specific to this design. I'm going to use the same wire, 20 gauge, and I'm going to use 1 inch more than I have on the links, which 2.5 inches. I have right here. And then you're going to go ahead and grab it in the middle with your round nose pliers and fold it in half, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and flatten it. I don't want to flatten the end too much, so I'm going to go a couple millimeters down from the end and kind of bring those ends together. So I'm going to tape just the tip where the little round ball is and put it maybe a 30-degree angle on it, like that. Grab my round nose pliers here and grab it right next to that bend towards the bottom, the thickest part of my round nose pliers, and then bend them around. Like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and even up these ends. Separate them a little bit. I'm going to flare them out. Maybe even with the tip here. Flare them out just like that. Just like your links, you're going to make loops on either end here. About the same size as the loops you made before. Like that. And like that. So you, on your chain, you have this link on the end that has open links. You're gonna hook these 2 guys together. I'm gonna flare out the other way. Sometimes this last loop can be tricky. There we go. So I brought it, I opened it up towards the inside. And I just need to close them again. Just need to hook that guy in there and close your loop. This one seems like it gets caught, so you just need to play with it to get it to move smoothly. Try bringing these ends together. That doesn't work. So what I did to stop the clicking was to flare these two ends out a little more. That's what worked for me. And that just hooks on the end there. Of course, you can tighten this up a little bit, kind of pinch it in, make it a little tighter. All right, so that's this one. So this bracelet you can wear as is, or what I've done in the past is I put some danglies on it for a little cha-cha bracelet. The next chain is a little easier. So all you're gonna do for the next chain is make jump rings and figure eights. For the figure eight links, I'm gonna use 18 gauge sterling silver wire, round. For the jump rings, I'm gonna use 16 gauge sterling silver, so they're nice and sturdy. This chain will be nice for bracelets and necklaces. So I'm gonna go ahead now and make my jump rings. Once again, I'm gonna use my 1/4 inch dowel rod here, 6mm. And I'm gonna wind my wire around it. And I think I'm gonna need about 12 rings. So I'm gonna wind it around to accommodate. Once you get started, you can grab it with some nylon jaw pliers if you want to save your hands. 16 gauge is pretty tough as well. Alright, I'm going to start on this side. Start cutting off your jump rings. Alright, we should have plenty here. That's extra, that's not making a ring, so we gotta toss that aside. Alright, since I use flush cutters, I have to go ahead and make sure both ends are flush on these. Okay, I'm going to use my 18 gauge to make the figure eight links. I can put a link above if you don't know how to make those, but I'll just make them really quick. They're 18 gauge round wire and they're 1 inch, so I'm going to make 12 of those. Alright, got 12 of those. These I make with my round nose pliers. Curl one side, I go to the other side, opposite end, and curl it the opposite direction. Just like that. Jump rings are ready, figure eight links are ready. Now it's just a matter of putting them together and make your bracelet. Just a matter of making sure everybody's lined up and closed correctly so nobody slips out. Alright, all finished. Got my bracelet. This guy is about 7 1/4 inches long. I'm going to throw a clasp on there real quick. It's a little swan clasp that I make. I make them ahead of time and then I tumble them. That's why it's so nice and shiny. There we are. There's a bracelet. You can leave it as is, or you can put the little danglies on it too. It can be a little cha-cha bracelet. That's it, real cute. Okay, so last but not least, I have my split ring chain that I'm going to show you. Real simple, but it's a nice sturdy chain for bracelets or necklaces. But I'm just going to make enough to make a bracelet, but you can hang danglies off this chain as well. I have another dowel here. This one's a little smaller. It's 1/8 of an inch, which is 5mm. I'm going to use copper this time, round wire. And I'm just going to start winding this around my dowel to make a nice long coil. Since these rings are on the smaller side, I'm going to need a lot more. I'll probably need around 30, so I'm gonna make a nice long coil here. Trick is just to get it started. Let's see where that gets me. Nice long coil. So for split rings, instead of jump rings where you just cut all the way up, you're gonna skip a ring and then cut it. Give yourself room to cut. Find your edge, the one end here, and try to make it even with that. So there's your edge, skip a ring, cut, skip a ring, cut, skip a ring, cut. Do this all the way down. Of course, one of the ends is going to be cut at an angle, so you need to even them up. Ooh, this does a number on my nails. So I'm going to go ahead and link them together, but at the same time I'm going to straighten them up, snip that angled end at the same time. Oops. Kind of handy that we have one side sticking out already so we can feed them on and then straighten them out once they're linked. Alright, there we are so far. I'm going to go ahead and link the rest of these together and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. I got all my rings together. This is what it looks like. It ended up being about a 7.5 so far. This has 36 split rings in it to give you an idea how many rings you need for a bracelet. But you know what I'm going to do? A 16 gauge jump ring on one end. Alright, so we just have one single ring. And on the other side, let's see, since this jump ring is 16 gauge, I'm going to make a 16 gauge swan clasp. Give myself about 2.5 inches just to make sure I have enough. And on one end I start to coil. And leave a little gap at the bottom, like that. Bring it around like that. Use my round. Okay, I have a little sharpening stone handy. I'm gonna smooth out that tip there. And take just the tip of the clasp and kind of bend it out just like that. Pull that out a little bit. Feed the bracelet on. close it up. There we are. Nice little swan clasp and a jump ring. Always a good idea to run your chain through your hand. Make sure you don't feel anything sharp or anything snaggy. If you do, you need to go back and fix it. Either file it, or if you got one sticking out, you can always tuck it in a little bit. You don't feel any snags, you're good to go. Alright, so there you have it. 3 different chains that you can use in your designs. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. In my opinion, that horseshoe chain link is the hardest one to do. Let me know in the comments if you gave it a try. And always, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell to be notified of my future videos. You can also check me out on social media. My links are below in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.